Hello and welcome to Gravitas Wins Conversations. At one point in my life, I tried my hands in running a digital security firm. Of course, it didn't go well. That's why I'm excited to talk to Shikhil Sharma, who has been running a very successful digital security startup. I'm going to talk to him about how he got the idea, how he went from just a startup into a successful one. What about marketing? How is he scaling the company during this COVID times and all of that? I hope you enjoy the conversation. Hello, Shikhil. Welcome to the conversation.
Hey Joseph, pleasure's all mine. Glad to be on Gravitas Wins, and I've been a fan of the show, and I'm glad that I'm getting to talk here.
Wonderful. Good. Let's start at the beginning. Please take us through how you got the idea of a security startup and how did you go about implementing? How did you validate that particular idea? And what has been your journey so far?
Sure. So it's been, as you would imagine, it's been very eventful journey with uh, possibly every possible mistake made on the way is what I always say. But then every other week after I say this, I may end up making another one. So it's been quite an adventurous journey. Uh, it started by when I was a teenager, and just like all the teenagers, uh, you have to once get attracted to ethical hacking and with the idea of being able to hack that person's Facebook or playing a prank on them, all that. Everyone at least once does that. So that's where it started. It's just that I got kind of hungover on that and I'm still doing that. Not hacking Facebooks, but on the other side of things, securing businesses. So uh, uh, I started as a teenager finding vulnerabilities in websites just for curiosity, just to understand that hey, how websites work and then how you can break them. One of the first one was an army institute in India where I reported the vulnerability. So from day one, ethics were in place, thankfully, and I got a reply from head of the institution, who was some major general, and I was about 15 or 16 back then, and that was a really big thing. And I realized that okay, that was like a defining moment where I realized that okay, this is something that could become big going forward. And over the next few years, I went to my university, learned computer science. During my university, funded my Goa travel by finding vulnerability in Yahoo and getting rewarded in the form of bug bounty for them. And along the way, met my co-founder Anand, who was in the university, and he was like 2 steps ahead of me without even like hardcore saying that he's in security, but he was like a very like a crazy coder back as a teenager also, and of course in the college too. And he was like just to prank his friends, he used to develop these which a tool which technically would be called a remote administration tool to just see what his friend is doing on his PC, but and giving that like disguising that tool as a FIFA game to him, and then kind of pranking him. So those were his summer vacation pastimes when he told me in the university, and I was like, dude, you are outright evil that way. And then turns out like he also did that as a prank. And then when we met, we were running our blogs. He was running a blog in technology space. I was doing something in cyber security, like ethical hacking space, running a small blog. And that blog gave me a lot of idea about SEO, about actually running a small business online, and how to make that first dollar online beyond bug bounties.
Mm,
So that's where I
mm,
realized that hey, these two talents can be combined, and I could actually have run a business. And then incidentally, a few of my seniors who were working in these, now an IPO bound startup. So it's no more a startup now. And in this company, and he said that hey, we guys are looking someone to test our security. Would you be interested? And I was like, wow, absolutely. So turns out that they had to pay us, and in order to pay us, we had to register a company, and yeah, rest is history. And then when you register a company, uh, I mean, things get serious. We didn't realize that. A couple of years later, we realized that okay, things have gotten serious. There's no going back. So we decided, very royally sat on university interviews or university tests in computer labs where companies used to come for placement, as it's the thing in India, and we used to very royally hack their test taking portals and take pride in that. It's no more pride taking now. It was like just we being funny back in the college, but post that we took, like me and my co-founder Anand, like just had one goal in our last year of our university, that we need to have at least 1 year's cash, which will help us survive post our university. And thankfully we managed that, and since then there has been no looking back. So yeah, that's been the story.
How are you scaling the company, especially during this COVID time?
Absolutely. So I think for us, scaling during COVID time has been, it's, I mean, we've been in an like blessed to be an industry where, since everything was going remote overnight, and people were not optimized for security at all, but they had to do everything online going forward. So that
Mm.
kind of sort of worked for us, because hackers use this opportunity big time. I mean, they targeted everything left, right, and center. I mean, there were massive attacks, like even in the areas where we were not working in, like ransomware attacks. Those were like on the big organizations, but even smaller businesses got attacked a lot. So naturally, there
Mhm.
was a quite a demand of cybersecurity for small and medium businesses, or even little upper segment businesses. So that, I mean, we thankfully did not take a hit due to COVID. However, that's just one side of things. I mean, the business is just not marketing. You have to manage people. You have to have processes in place, and even if there's a demand, you have to ensure that you're able to serve it.
Mm.
So for from that perspective, we've, like, personally as founders, we've been very, very massive fans of automation internally. We think twice, thrice before actually hiring a person, because we think that, if we are hiring person, it legit has to be some work that an automation or another SaaS solution cannot do. If that's the case, then
Mm.
we go ahead and say that okay, let's hire someone to do it, because in the end, human time is super valuable. So it's best spent doing something that automated tools and which cannot do. So that way, our reliance on automation, even before COVID situation, really helped us ensuring that we were like set up online really well ourselves.
That's a fantastic one. So you laid the seeds before this came in, and that has helped you,
Absolutely, and
right?
without knowing that something like this would happen, of course. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And are you completely remote? The whole team is remote, and if so, how you have been thinking about it, and how you have been building that?
Absolutely. I mean, we are all remote, 100% remote team now, since post-COVID situation, and everyone's taken the remote thing really well. And we were thankfully able to transition remote. Like, I mean, of course, a few couple of hiccups initially, but that was that. And from now, we've decided that we would be 100% remote going forward, and it has been a great experience, because when you're going 100% remote, the world becomes your playground in terms of hiring.
Mm.
We were we
Mm.
Before even going remote, we had made a few remote hires while we were at office. But then again, back then we found that as a challenge, because there were people who were working remotely, but they did not connect with the team. Those jokes on Slack that we were talking about, because they were not in that office. But now it's an equally leveled playground for everyone. So those, like, everyone's connected. And for us, if we have to hire people earlier, like we were based in Delhi, so in there was all, like, there were always a challenge that, X type of people are not available massively in Delhi. Each region has their expertise
Mm.
in terms of kind of
Mm.
density of people and what they are doing. So we used to have some challenges, especially in tech side of roles. But since it went remote, uh, we realized that, we have to capitalize this on real quick, because we realize that the world is going to go remote. So we said, like, from day one, said that it's going to be a remote position. I mean, we can hire someone from Bangalore, Chennai, wherever they are, tier three, four, hardly matters. Till the time they've got an internet connection, they were a potential hire. So that really helped us in, building a very strong technology team.
Okay. One of the things that I've seen, there are two things that I've seen you very, very different. And one of the thing is you won an award from Indian PM and also got a grant from a French president.
That's correct.
Uh, how did that happen?
Yes, so I call that our year of meeting presidents because there was when we were getting the award from Indian PM, there was also a Sri Lankan president on the stage. So it turned out to be
Hmm.
three presidents in the same year. I mean, not in the same year, but in the span of 4 5 months. So very, I would say, magical things like these. I mean, I would say luck has a part to play in these things. I mean, every like there would be tons of people working way harder than me, but we got a little lucky too. So we were a part of this uh, conference called Global Conference on Cybersecurity, where we presented Astra's solution and ended up winning the best startup award there. And we, until very last moment, had no clue that it was the prime minister who's going to be giving awards. So it's only I would say just the night before, like at least 12 to 14 hours before that, we realized that prime minister is gonna go give you an award. And next thing they know, they're asking for our details and documents so that they can be verified by the police and whatnot. It's because we would be in the proximity zone of the PM. So pretty magical an experience, and blessed to have that. Uh, and for the French president, we did we applied to this incubator while we were in very early pre-revenue stage. Uh, a few months out of the college, we realized that we could use an incubator and some international exposure because, uh, I mean, truth be told, we Indians, like whenever we used to price a product or do anything, it's every time it was a multiplied by 70 conversion, and we feeling that no one would pay that. So that mindset had to change, and then we
Hmm.
realized that might as well get some sort of an international exposure because the kind of product we were offering, it wasn't bounded or it wasn't restricted to a certain geography. So we applied to a number of incubators, and then there was this program run by the French government called the La French Ticket Program, where they were calling entrepreneurs and if they got selected, then giving them an opportunity to be a part of an incubator. And across France, there were a number of incubators. So we got selected. About there were 14 1500 odd applications. We got selected, and again we had very little clue that it was such a big program that when we, like, literally 2 days in Paris, and uh, we're getting a picture click with president. So that was again right place at the right time, I guess. So got lucky.
How did these two events change your thinking about running a startup or running a business?
That's a nice question. First thing, like I was mentioning, international exposure is super super uh, helpful. Was super super helpful for us because we I remember very distinctly, we were putting, like I mentioned, we were in the pre-revenue stage, and the first month in Paris, and we were trying to put a pricing page on our website, right? And we were putting a plan which starts at, let's say, $24. Second would be double that, and then third would be whatever, just double of that. And a person who was a serial entrepreneur, part of our incubator, sees and asks, "What are you guys doing?" And we were like, "We're just trying to place various plans." And he's like, "Okay, so what's the range?" We told him that this is X, and the third one is 4X. And this guy says, "Make the third one 10X." And we were like,
Hmm.
"You don't even know what we are doing." And like how he's saying that, he didn't say anything after that. He just patted my back and said that thank me later, do it. And we were like, great. So I mean, we don't have any customers currently that would get pissed off at that, or thousands and thousands of visitors coming at our website. So let's do it. We did that, and uh, almost a month later, we see that someone bought that 10x plan, and we were like, wow. And we thought that no one's gonna buy it. So this
Mm,
was a small incident, but in terms of expanding your vision and the way you think about things, and getting to know that what kind of audience exists and how to reach that audience, is something that we
mm,
really learned at that point. Because a lot of times, you somehow restrict yourself to in and around what you see, and you somehow start valuing what you're bringing to the world based on what your friends would pay for it,
mm,
involuntarily, which is very wrong. Because I mean, especially if you're giving them, let's say, 100x the value of what they are paying, or even 10x the value you are paying, they're happy to pay five uh, whatever, like at least the 50% of that value to you. So these this was one of the lessons. And second lesson that I learned was that it's a uh, in when you are in US, in Europe, one thing you realize is that uh, be it coders, be it marketers, everything. I mean, they were very highly, highly in demand, and there was like a clear fight for talented people there, right? And there was no, I mean, people were not, I mean, there was no menial stuff being done by talented folks. So that's where the idea of ensuring that everything around automation is automation came in our idea, in our head. And another thing I remember, one incident was that how, as a founder, manage your time. This is something that I still struggle with, but this is one of the lessons that again someone in Paris gave us. We were like, me and my co-founder, we were like stuck in this list, which was about 20 odd items, and we had to do it. And we were like, how do I do it? And this is like next 3 months goal, and I've got a product which is not selling. And what's the, like, what how to tackle this? So very simple solution. A guy comes, like, person Maxime, I remember his name. Amazing guy. So he came and he said that, okay, let's sort this out for you. He wrote each of those 20 25 odd items on a whiteboard, and he said that, okay, and he made both of us sit in front of that whiteboard, and he says that, okay, let's see, let's get you sorted on these things and how you should be doing. He said that, okay, let's start from the bottom. How will this impact your business? We said that, okay, not a lot. Okay, he did not write anything against it. Then some 2 points later, he said that, how will this impact your business? And we said that it is super important. If we do this, it will, amazing stuff would happen. He added $3 values to it. So similarly, he just rated everything to a dollar value. Like, three means maximum thing. Otherwise, it's like $1. Otherwise, doesn't. He's like, here, you've got your prioritization. Do like
mm.
80/20, essentially 80/20 rule, right? Just do what multiplies the value in terms of the time you put. So that was an excellent lesson to learn as a founder, because you are always juggling with so many things. You have to make that choice of, saying that, I'm not doing these five things, because the other two will add 10 times more value than those five things. So yes, that was another lesson that we learned uh, from the people around.
The other one that I differentiate you is most of the security softwares are run on fear. But I've seen you very, very good at marketing. So, how did you manage this marketing? Do you have other people managing the marketing? Or is it something that you learned in that incubator stuff? Tell me about that.
So my idea of marketing has been uh, a lot of begging and a lot of borrowing. So essentially, that, I mean, seeing what all the people are doing around. And one of the things that we both of our founders, us, have been super conscious of design, branding, UI, UX. These are a few things that we deeply care about. I mean, I'm like, this is almost of a, like, you could call it genetic, where I could actually take out UX errors in how people are doing physically. So I
Mm.
really like people who focus on customer experience. So that is one thing that was just uh, deeply ingrained. One of the examples of that is like even back one of our first copy of our website, right? It was something that I this is like an honest confession, where when you start, you sometimes do have that fear, and we were kids back then. We do have that fear that, hey, I'm a whatever, or like my early 20s, 21, 22 years, small young person, young brown guy. Why would a like someone sitting in US trust me and give their transaction on do that transaction on my website? It's a nameless, you're a nameless, faceless person. That was an indeed a fear when we started, and there's no running away from them. And we now really nicely own up who we are, but back then we were a little conscious of that. And uh, we countered that by saying that, hey, we're not going to pretend something we are not going to be, but we can at least give them a feeling, say, which tells them that, we are someone around them. So how did we do that? We said that, okay, let's see, based on this first month's traffic, where we've got only, let's say, 5,000 hits, where are people coming? We divided that into like 6 7 regions. We're like, okay, this is from where people are coming. Our first 20 signups are also from these regions. Okay, use that data, and we said that, okay, on our website, on our homepage, uh, there's this headline. Before that, there are below that there are two buttons. On the background, I'll display a picture of something they're familiar with, and based on the
Mm.
region. So, and this is 5 odd years back. So, if someone's opening from US, they see San Francisco Bay Bridge. I didn't say I'm from the US, but you are seeing a San Francisco Bay Bridge. If someone's opening from France, they see a Eiffel Tower picture. Someone opening from the Middle East, they would see a Burj Khalifa. Mumbai, India was what do we call it? The Marine Drive. So we realized that this beautifully worked because people, we did not say anything, but they, when they chatted with us, they assumed we are in their time zone. They assumed that we are somewhere around them, and we were like, okay, this is cool stuff. So we started playing a lot with these things on our website also, including uh, uh, again, a little evil hack, but we realized that, this is also a few years ago, where we realized that people, I mean, purchasing power, right? If someone's like got a Mac, there's a chance I would like to set that person up for my top plan. So it's a
Mm.
fair estimation that they are working on a map. They might be a super coder, or they might be someone who's doing a very tech heavy work, for whom their website and business would be super important. Windows user, of course, this is 4 5 years ago, so a lot of technology has changed. So how we used to show pricing on a website used to be very different to Windows and Mac users. So if you're a Windows user, you'll see it in ascending order. If you're a Mac user, you'll see it in descending order. So subconsciously, we would set you up for a price that we think you should be paying. So stuff like that is something that I mean, these were small things that I learned from the internet. Like not something that's why the borrowing and begging bit I mentioned. And we applied all these things, and we realized, and seeing how these things fared, and how subconsciously people used to take so many decisions that you didn't realize, right? And then these books came along, Hooked, Evil by Design, all these books,
Mm.
and I read those books overnight, and I said, okay, these are strategies we are totally going to use in our thing. So that really helped. And another thing, in terms of uh, uh, entrepreneurs who are in very tech heavy, big data, AI, uh, cyber security space, problems that I've seen with them is that they try to imitate leaders in their space, being security folks, being big data. That's a problem. If you're selling on the internet, imitate best marketing companies, what they are doing, imitate and
Mm.
intercom, and try to implement that in security. Because every security company is being that, I can give you like 5 website templates that every certain size of security company is using on their website. because it's a standard procedure, and they just buy that $100 template from some website and they put it in because other guy is doing it. But in the end, real market leaders are these marketing companies who are selling true SaaS solutions online and without any human interaction or limited human interaction. So from day one, when we were marketing, we made it a choice to not copy any tech heavy company because we want to be the friendly security company around the block. So that's why we always copied marketing companies, and helps you because no other and now what has happened is that a lot of security companies have started to copy us, so kind of leading the change. So that really helped us. And apart from that, one final thing I've seen with marketing is that a lot of times people do not humanize their marketing. Like a lot of tech people, we realize that it's marketing is always about humans. So that's why right from a website to the way we talk, we I mean security companies sometimes are supposed to talk in a certain way, being a little too serious. We try to be very friendly with people. How we are writing an email would also be very similar to how we write to a friend. Our website would be full of caricatures of our team members, so that people know that who are the people who are on the other side of this thing. So in the end, if you're selling to humans, you have to. I understand technically company is also an entity of its own, but in the end, it's humans who are running it and humans who are making the buying decision. So if you humanize your marketing, it goes a really, really long way. And of course, we've got an excellent marketing team, a number of full stack marketers who are amazing at SEO. Our marketing team also has people who are CEH, right? So even the kind of people we hire for marketing are people who are techies who love to market. So they exactly know
Hmm.
security. They have done their security certification, and then we combine that with the flavor of Astra's marketing strategy, and it works seamlessly well in terms of team also. So all these are just small ideas that stem from my Anand's or anyone's brain, but actually the big guys like taking big decisions and actually implementing it is our amazing marketing team. So yes.
Wonderful. Thank you. Let's switch to security for a while, and then we'll talk about things around security. I see in your site that you have you have secured large companies like Microsoft, Adobe, and like. I can understand they have a lot to lose. They are big companies. If something were to happen to them, there's a lot that they will lose. But what about small and medium businesses? Why should they worry about digital security? Even though, let's say, for example, they are sourcing leads from the internet, and maybe some bit of selling is also happening on the internet. Why should they bother about this digital security?
Got it. So it's really ironical, right? Even like I get this question a lot, and it's really interesting that in 2021 we are still asking this question because it's. I mean, I find the answer to be so obvious that we've got a Microsoft, we've got a Yahoo, Adobe, all these Facebook big companies. These people have at least a few hundred people in their security team, and yet they get hacked, right?
Hmm.
They get security issues. How many hundred, like let's leave 100, let's leave dozen, let's come down to one person. How many SMEs or how many SMBs have at least one person looking at their security? Answer would
Hmm.
be very like it would be 0.00 something, because we've personally seen a lot of businesses, SaaS companies, e-commerce that we work with, who have about anything between 100 to 5 to 800 people, technology teams, not complete teams, just tech teams of that size. They have zero security personnel on their board. So if I mean there's this huge spectrum, and hackers are people like normal people who live in this normal like world like us, right? It's so evident, like they need is a LinkedIn search to see what is this company doing for security. Oh, only two security people in 1,000 people company. Oh, it's a just a 50 people company, but they seem to be doing, I don't know, 5 million in revenue. Great, let's go after these. So a Microsoft and an Adobe, they can get hacked, and a little controversial, but they sometimes can get away by getting hacked also, because they've got
Mm,
huge budgets, huge way, so they can tackle that hack. They can pay fines if a GDPR is violated. They can pay fines, but hacks are more fatal for SMEs and SMBs. Your 10 people company, your 50, 100 people company, you get hacked, you're done overnight. I mean, it comes down to that. Sometimes we've seen people some coming to us saying that on their e-commerce store someone's put a credit card hijacking malware, so which is causing like every transaction on their uh, store being redirected to a hacker controlled payment gateway, and even customers credit card information being redirected to hacker controlled servers. And because of that, there's whatever country they are in, that country's national whatever cybersecurity division is asking them questions, is after them. Now they have to give answers, they have to give server logs, they have to tell what they do, they have to by law email each of their customer saying that we were hacked. This is fatal for
mm,
their business. I mean, when they come to us, discover Astra, they are panicked. They are as if like, you do whatever you do, just get me out of it. So
mm,
idea is to not get to that situation. Like be in a like whenever you do not even give complete money to buy a house. You just give like 10% of a down payment. The first thing you do is get your own lock. Do not use the same lock that the other guy was using. So why not with your online business, right? That's eventually helping you buy that real house in real world. So
yeah.
that I mean, that shift I've definitely seen coming in the last 1.5 years. I mean, earlier it was a lot about educating people. Now it is not. Be it any country, be it a developed country, developing country, people education level in terms of cybersecurity and the fact that they need to be secure from day one is something that has very interestingly increased in the last 1.5 year.
Okay. So you talked about a very nice analogy that you gave. Don't use the same lock that your builder gave you, so change the lock. Uh, in that particular context, on the same lines, when should a small and medium businesses consider investing in security?
Great question. I mean, a small and medium business usually a few digital assets that they have are usually their email, and second is their website, majorly when they start, right? And email, essentially, all your antivirus companies usually give some sort of email protection to bundle with the solution, or there's an enterprise version running not more than couple of $100 a year. Similarly, for your website, in a couple of $100, you could have a substantial amount of security uh, protecting your website, right? Because in the end, of course, security is one of those things. I mean, I'm someone who takes spending decisions. I'm someone who buys SaaS solutions. So from a business owner's perspective, I understand their perspective too, right? That if they say they go all paranoid and say that I want to be super secure, give me this DDoS protection, give me this firewall, and then add an, I don't know, identity management solution also on top of it. You can't do that from day one, and that's completely okay. Security always is a layered approach. There's no one
Mm,
silver bullet which will protect you against it all. I wish there was, but there isn't. So if that's not the case, take baby steps. I mean, as your business grows, just keep that thing in mind that, hey, now we are not doing that managed VPS thing. We are running an AWS. It might be a good idea to ensure that AWS is secure and do, I don't know, some sort of a pen test or some protection for AWS. Similarly, from day one, I would say certain amount of security should be in place. We've seen uh, at least once a month. I mean, real stats, at least once a month, there is some new customer that comes on board and who says that, hey, this was just a staging website that I had. It was not even live yet. How did it get infected with malware? And we're like, dude, I mean, you got a server, you update unupdated stuff. These guys just, I mean, hacker is not looking at you specifically that, hey, Shikhil is going to launch a business, let me target him. They've got bots running for them. They've got automated scripts that all they do is just scrape internet, find vulnerable stuff, and inject malware in it. So at least having spending a couple of $100 on your basic website email security as a start from day one of the business ideally should be the best practice is what I think.
Okay, on the same lines as the SMBs, now as an SMB, when I go into the online business, the digital business, I'm going to use some of these packages, WordPress, Magento, all of these packages. Isn't it the responsibility of these packages to be secure? Why should I spend money on security?
Absolutely. I mean, Magentos, your WordPresses, each of these CMSs definitely focus a lot on security. However, one thing that we have to acknowledge is that their code base is massive and they are open source, right? Whenever a business opens their business up opens up their product for other businesses to contribute and monetize using their platform, a lot of interesting security implications happen to that, right? A WordPress, had it been just an independent company, not open source, which of course WordPress clearly swears by the mantra of open source. But for 1 second, let's just say that WordPress was not open source. First, it would not have been 40% of the entire internet that it is right now. Second, there are millions and millions of plugins that make lives of a lot of WordPress users super easy. Today, I mean, if I ask a coder to code a web form for me, I'm sure they're going to spend a good amount of time and still they would not have their sanitizations and all those security things in place. But now, a plugin in 2 minutes gets you ready with a contact form on your website, which is a super essential thing that every business owner optimizes for. So, this happened due to the ecosystem that these CMSs, these platforms created. However, it wasn't that easy for them also to ensure that everyone
Mm,
who's developing for their ecosystem is developing securely, right? We are talking billions of lines of code with these ecosystem themes, plugins, all these things, right? So that's why it's kind of a barter. You have a lot of things going here, there, growth is happening crazy. Security does take a backseat for these platforms. These guys also, and there's again, these guys also take responsibility, release a new version of WordPress every few months, release patches for Magento, new version every few years. I have seen so many people who do not apply these updates.
mm,
Now, platform
mm.
is doing their bit, right? People are not. I mean, they have the people also have the reason. But then, if I mean, again, that's why this balance kind of gets a little haywire, and that's exactly the loophole where hackers come in and they say that, hey, this guy, I mean, I know for a fact, like, so many thousands and thousands of websites we protect. I can like vouch that these guys also do not update their plugins massively, and we of course send notifications and all that. But that's okay. They are at least running a firewall in the form of Astra, but not a lot of businesses do. And these platforms have democratized building websites also, which means that person who's actually building not necessarily always understands nuances of coding
Mm,
also, right? So that
mm.
also is a factor on top of it. So multi-factors combined, security sadly takes a little bit of a bump there and a backseat.
Okay, so if I'm a small and medium business that's running any one of this and I'm doing decent revenue, it could be a CMS or it could be a e-commerce site, I'm doing a decent revenue. How should they get started with Astra, and what are the handhold me? Let's say for example I say, okay, you know what, I listen to this podcast, I understand that I need to take care of security really well, and how should they contact you or Astra, and what will be the few initial steps in securing that website?
Absolutely. So it's pretty straightforward. All they have to do is go to getastro.com, simply choose a plan that they feel is right for them and at their stage, and uh, install our solution as an extension, plugin, or through our custom installer, and get started with it. That's it. I mean, takes under 5 minutes to get started, and your website is having a firewall which is protecting every request coming to your website and ensuring no malicious request comes in. There's a malware scanner that is ensuring that your code base has no malware. If there are any differences in files from your core CMS's changes, those also are flagged. A ton of other security features ensuring your login is protected always. All sorts of things right there takes 5 odd minutes to start, and you're protected and way better in a way better situation than 90% of odd websites around the globe which are like going all vanilla without any security. So pretty
Okay,
straightforward.
most of these security plugins, as I add, it has a impact on the performance. So how do you balance between these plugins scanning whatever that you talked about, in addition to not hitting the performance?
Absolutely. I mean, we've been very conscious of that since day one because, like I mentioned, like first thing that we see is that since we are a business ourselves, if would I like to use a security plugin that is affecting my SEO, or I like to use a security plugin which is creating a bad experience for my customers? Never. I mean, why would I like to hinder a customer's experience? So that is one thing that we are super careful about and conscious about. So that's what we always try to, I mean, optimize for, like right from our like the firewall. It creates absolutely no latency in terms of websites loading time. And when say that, I say that with confidence because we benchmarked it multiple times with various solutions to ensure that there's micro mini seconds delay, that if at all it causes, nothing more than that. Malware scanner, it's one of the most beautiful codes written by us, where it is running on your server and it would not. I mean, just to give you a context, by example, we've got uh, we've got a lot of customers who are on shared hostings, your GoDaddies, your Bluehosts of the world, running a few hundred uh, websites on one server, and our malware scanners seamlessly scans their website without causing any 500 error or absolutely any delay in that. So it's optimized to even run on one of the most tight hostings where you are like literally given MBs of bandwidth sometimes. So that way we've like been super conscious of ensuring that there's security, but then there's user experience, and one doesn't hinder the other. So we've been super
Okay,
conscious of that. Yeah.
wonderful. And and okay, we have talked about small and medium businesses. What about individuals? How can we, obviously I don't have any digital business to run. I don't, maybe I have a website, that's all I have. But I'm doing a lot of online transactions, banking transactions, I'm on Paytm, so on and so forth. How can I keep myself secure?
Sure. So this comes down to the fact that you have to keep your eyes and ears open because this, I mean, it's just knowing what's obvious and just trying to spot it. That comes down, like it always comes down to that when it comes to personal security, because a lot of times what we've seen is that like these hackers or so-called, like the people who usually do some sort of a fraud, they usually take advantage of the situation. I mean, example being, we've got so many news articles where people, you post something on these websites like OLX Quicker and say that, hey, I'm
Hmm.
selling this bicycle. This is an exact example that happened with Ojol from our team. So he said that I'm gonna be selling this bicycle, and we were sitting in a Uber, and I was telling him that, let me tell you, in like next 5 minutes, you're gonna get a call, and this person's gonna say that he's interested in buying, and he's going to send you a request. And he's like, ऐसे थोड़ी ना होता है, मतलब मैंने तो अभी डाला. And I'm like, no, wait. And 5 minutes later, he gets a call. This guy says that, hey, I'm interested in this cycle you're buying. I'm sending you a request. Just approve it, and my brother says close to you. He'll collect it tomorrow. And when something is too good to be true, the chances are that's true. So that of course the guy was trying to trick him to actually approve a money request, actually not uh, sending and not sending Ujjwal money. So these are a few things, like a lot of, and sadly we we have a whole new generation that has spent more than 50% of their lives without internet, without even the first bit
Mm.
of internet, right? These people who are in that age group usually are the worst targets of these situations, because this doesn't naturally come to them, right? They think that what he's doing is right. So the and the only solution is to educate them, that they're saying that, and now there has been like a huge drive, right, from your SBIs to Paytm. Everyone explicitly messages you at least once every 2 3 days, saying that we never ask you for an OTP, we never ask you for your password, we never do this. That kind of education is definitely needed. And at the same time, a little bit of street smartness goes a long way in such situations. And of course, I mean, if you're it's a personal drive, keep that antivirus on. If keep ensure that uh, you aren't installing anything. I mean, do not save that $5, pay for that Netflix, because the other cheap website you'll go to for that show would install something on your browser and you would not get to know, and then they'll be hijacking your search. Every time you will click Google, it'll be different search engine pretending to be Google, which is showing ads. So I mean, I think as our economy is growing, I love how people have started to pay actually for software. And I love that, not because I create software, but because I always have liked the idea that people, I mean, uh, there's so much open source, that though so many contributions people are doing, and if someone's like building a software, it takes a lot of effort, and if you can pay. And if you can't, well, that's a different thing. I mean, again, it's an open internet, and that's how it should be. So yes, sometimes paying that $4 5 saves you a lot of potential hacking XYZ spam costs.
Thanks. I think that is well said. It is better to stitch now than wait for the 9 stitches that I have to do later. So
Absolutely.
fantastic. Uh, let's switch gears into something about leadership. How you have grown as a leader since you have started, and what habits encourage you to do the best work that you do.
Definitely, I mean, I've learned a lot by making a lot of mistakes. When it comes to people, when it comes to how things are done, being a little too crazy by saying that, hey, this is I how I think it should be done, and now if someone does a little off from that, then not saying that, hey, this off bit also needs to be corrected. So all those things are something that you eventually learn, and the this the one of the backbone of this entire thing is to, as you uh, encounter these incidents or find yourself making a mistake and you realize that you're doing it, very quickly turn it into a principle and ensure that that principle itself is circulated within the organization, and everyone in your team
Mhm.
is aware of that principle. And it does not have to be just you, it can be anywhere in the team, anyone in the team, where they say that, I mean, principles are essentially what, I mean, they're essentially things you go back to when you're stuck somewhere, and then you say that, okay, I'll read these 5 principles, or these are 5 principles which guide me, these are my guiding principles. By them, what's the best decision out of these three things that I should be doing? And you'll have your answer. So whenever I've personally uh, made a mistake, or have had a eureka moment in terms of culture, in terms of doing things, in terms of leading an organization, I've always tried to uh, go all crazy and turn it into a leadership, into a principle. And and not necessarily, and principles aren't something which you can force people to follow. It would never happen. You could like tell them to actually recite that, like a morning prayer every day, and they would not follow. But the day they start seeing you following it, and this the day they
Mm.
start seeing you using those principles as a guiding light, and even talking and using those terms while everyday conversation, next thing you know that everyone's using those terms, and that principle is like circulated really well. So that has really helped us, I mean, especially in terms of how to lead a team, how to build a team, what people care about. I mean, a few things that I am super proud of in the, like in the team bit is that we've like never ever denied anyone's leave. We've always seen that, if someone is asking for a leave or is absent, there would be a great reason for it. And who am I to even say that you shouldn't? I mean, it's not industrial revolution now that, I get to tell where my workers come. If they don't feel like, they don't feel like. It's as simple as that. And the day you start denying those leaves or going crazy, uh, they'll I mean, the world is a playground in 2021 for everyone. They'll just leave you. I mean, they won't even say anything. The next thing you know, you'll get a notice saying that, hey, boss, I'm going. So, in terms of people, you have to treat people as people. It is no more industrial revolution, and ensuring that everyone's like appreciated for their work. It is, if it's a
Mm.
if it's a successful launch, like just today we launched an interesting feature for our pen test suite where we are scanning an application behind the login also, all on the cloud, automatically. So we launched a Chrome plugin for that, and I realized that, it. I mean, first of all, not a lot of people around the globe are doing it, and we did this literally in a record time. And I was thinking, and I realized that, wow, so many like effort of so many people came, like became came together to make this happen. There was a designer involved, there research of months, and then there were a product person involved, and of course developers. And I appreciate it, and thank each one of them very like in detail for that, because like not saying that hey thank yous, but saying that this bit you did is something really amazing, because it truly
Mm.
was.
Mm.
So people, I mean, if someone's like giving you their time, it is the greatest gift you can get from anyone, be it in personal life or professional life. So just go an extra mile while appreciating. And if there's a screw up that has happened organization wide anywhere, you should be the first person to take charge. I mean, we get sometimes tickets where customers angry, or they're saying something which is like, we messed up somewhere, happens to each one of us. The first person to reply to that is me. I always take charge and I reply to that, because I mean, that's if it's something went wrong, I possibly did not do right something in anticipating that something like this would happen. So I think it leadership is not leadership anymore. I think it's about just being having a company which feels like a group of friends trying to create a project together. It's come down to that. I mean, it's no more you being a leader like it would have been. So that's what I feel.
That's a very good one. Thanks for sharing it. Now that you talked about the principles and all of that, how often do you talk to your team in general as well as in particular about these principles?
Sure. I'll be frank, not a lot. We do not talk a lot about them. However, we the principle itself, like the principle, like one particular or whatever principle itself, is something which very regularly is uh, talked about while we are working. But in general, we never label it as a principle. We would never
Mm.
say that, I mean, explicitly that hey, I'm reminding you this. Example being that, uh, one of the things that we really go by is like keeping things super simple. So one of the things that we really like, and that it's the principles usually are universal in nature. Now keeping it super simple can be having a complicated HR policy, and or you changing it into a one line, or it could be a 5 step user flow, you trying to saying that hey, let's keep it simple, let's try to see how we can fit this in 2 screens, so a product designer can also use it. it could be a hiring decision, anything. I mean, when usually principles are universal in nature. So this is one of those things, like even our product team, any like develop anyone, they know that, okay, what's like what that keeping things simple is one of the things which is done here. But they have never like essentially been told time and again that, hey, you know now that this is our principle, this is our principle. So that's never how we usually do it. And another one, uh, which we've been very shameless enough to borrow principles from organization, because so one of my friends, another friend from college, Ujjwal, who joined Astra a few years ago, came from Amazon. Before that, he was at Amazon. So we one of the principles that he really brought from Amazon and really championed at Astra was that it's always day one. So
Mm.
uh, he said that, I mean, and he first of all, I mean, started working like it's day one himself, and I somehow got infected by that thing. And next thing you know, Anand, my co-founder, and everyone in the team is working as it's day one. So much so that one of our colleagues was uh, changing roles and going like leaving Astra quite recently. They wanted to work in some other industry, and we in the like the parting note that we sent them, we said that, hey, it's this person's last day one, saying so in short, it's still day one even if it's your last day at Astra, and you'd always be astronaut. So that is something that we really that I think that, principles should be something we've actually made that mistake of actually listing down principles, saying that these are 6 principles we'll do. It didn't work. It didn't work, leave alone with team, but our own selves. Like 6 months later, I was asked to see what those principles are. I didn't remember because I didn't follow those. So
Mm.
yeah, that's how usually I think that principles are best followed, and they should be reminded time and again in your work, just like all those classic stories that we've been learning, that we've been hearing since we were children, right? And our parents uh, taught them. Those were just classic stories, and and principles are like those classic stories which we just keep on, telling people in not in a principally way.
Very, very valid point. It's better to practice a principle rather than a preach a principle. So, in that sense, yes, very true. So, a couple of last questions, Shikhil. What's the kindest thing somebody has done for you?
A lot of them. It's how can you ask an entrepreneur what's the kindest thing? It's as if uh, you're riding on cloud nine on a day, and the next day you're in hell, like below earth. So that's what the journey is like. And kindest, you definitely take you. I mean, I have uh, we've always been very shameless in asking uh, advice, asking favors from people, and have been very kind. We've tried to be very kind to people who ask us, and we like help them in whatever way. And one of the core reasons for that has been like very early in our journey, we had no company, nothing. Uh, One of the founders of our university is actually, so our university is NIT University, and that university is backed by founders of NIT Limited, which I think essentially 80% of a certain generation of India has actually learned computers from NIT. We've been so kind to uh, get mentorship from their founder, one of the founders, Mr. Vijay Thadani. And I remember I was like, we zero sales knowledge, Joseph, zero marketing knowledge, zero sense of how to talk to people. And these two people go to that person, Mr. Tarani, and we say that, hey, this is what we are doing. And what is the next thing he does? We said that, we are going to be we can secure businesses, e-commerce, all that. And we had no product, nothing. And he said that, okay, let me put you in touch with CTO of Snapdeal. And we're like, wow. And we were just in college, and someone opening up their network and putting you in touch
Mm.
with a multi million dollar company which is going up like crazy back then, so it was on rage. And we actually got that meeting, we went there, all those things happened. And it I mean, definitely it would be one of the most kindest things. And
Mm,
similarly, this was like he was someone that we could approach. Then there was, I remember when I was in Paris, I had to go to US for some work. So I had applied visa for the US from Paris consulate, and and I am right at the visa offices, like just outside it. I'm waiting for my turn. Huge security, just like every consulate of US is there. Like it's as if it's a war zone, all crazy outside the US area embassy. And they tell me I'm having my bag which has my laptop, all my important documents, and I'm these guys tell me that, hey, you cannot take your bag, your laptop, anything inside, and you cannot also leave it here. So you have to like do something, and I cannot get a date for months together again, and I have to be in the US. So I random guy, he's never met me. I approach him and I say that, hey man, I'm in this real big problem. He's talking to someone in his home. I think he was from, I have a picture with this person. This person was somewhere from some Southeast Asian country, in Asia. Definitely he was an Asian. So and this person, I request him that, hey, can you please take this with yourself? And mind you, this is a time where Paris also had a couple of attacks or something. A little tough time. This person does not ask me for my ID, does not ask anything from me, and he's like, okay, here's my number. Once you're done, I'm gonna meet you here and just give me a
mm.
call. And he used to work just around the block. Such a kind thing. I never forgot that. And that was so powerful that, just helping strangers whom you've never met, whom you they don't even, I'm sure I wouldn't have been even looking that trustworthy to him, but he just helped me. So a ton of kind things that have happened to me, and it's always paid forward. I mean, it's always paid forward.
This is one thing that I hear. So this question I ask almost all the
Okay.
guests, and pay it forward is something that is keep coming in, and that's why I like to ask this particular question. Wonderful. Thanks for sharing that particular one. Final question, Shikhil. What's your definition of living a good life?
Being content.
Okay. Wonderful. Thanks for that very short, simple. Probably you have been trained on that user experience manner. So very short and sweet answer. So very good. Shikhil, you said in our interview, the greatest gift somebody can give is the time that they spend with you, and you're given about an hour with me, and I'm very thankful for that and for sharing your journey, the lessons that you've learned, and all of that. In fact, it's a masterclass for me on both running a business and marketing and in security. So thank you very much for that, Shikhil.
Thanks a lot, Joseph. And I know you're a man of many talents and very talented person, someone who knows tech, a little marketing, as well as all these things that you do. I've been keeping a tab. So very like humbled to be on your show. And thanks a lot for saying so many good things about me. You kind of made my weekend. So thank you so much.
Welcome, welcome. Hey, I hope you enjoyed the conversation with Shikhil. Please share what you liked in our conversation on social media and tag us. And also check out my executive coaching program called Gravitas Wins. Have a life of wins.